Good morning. It's Lindsay from the Here Now videocast. I'm joined by my friend and fellow coach Nima. We've decided to put together a short series on coaching and the power of coaching. We feel we believe in it so much and there's some misconceptions. So we'd like to show you the fun side and the power of coaching. Hey, Nima.
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you for having me again here. I'm so excited to be part of this. I think it's so powerful that we come out here on your platform and share how powerful coaching is for well-being and growth.
Absolutely.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of put the focus on you this time. So do you want to share with us how coaching impacted your life?
Wow. Okay, so I'll start with, it's a great question. And somehow on my journey, I've kind of lost the beginning. It started years ago. I think I was 23, 24, and I was in a marriage, very young, and the marriage wasn't healthy anymore.
Okay.
And it was difficult for me to make sense of it because I was struggling with what I wanted, what I knew I should do, and what my program, my childhood program was telling me to do. And there was a lot of people pleasing, a lot of, as a coping mechanism, inability to disappoint, always wanting to put others first, even at the expense of myself. So it was a very, very turbulent time for me. And this is with retrospect. When we're in the storm, we don't often see this clarity. And I was very fortunate that my mother's husband, where he worked for British American Tobacco at the time, and he had a corporate coach and a personal coach. And I'll never forget this evening. I was at their house in Epsom, and I was pouring my heart out because there was this conflict inside between doing what I felt was right, but not knowing how to follow that path because I was never taught to do what I felt was right for me, and staying stuck in a situation that wasn't serving me. And against his ethics, because you're not supposed to coach if you're not a coach, but he showed me the power of coaching through a few powerful questions. And it was so transformative in that moment that I was like, wow, you can help someone just by questioning them, and then you give them the answers without telling them the answers.
Right.
Because I learned through my own life that the unsolicited advice is always the advice people don't want to take, even if it's the right advice, right? And then the right advice for me might not be the right advice for you.
Absolutely.
And then when Brian showed me this power and he helped me make a decision, and I took a decision, and it was painful, but it ended amicably, as can be.
If I can stop you there, because there's something that's so powerful that came up here that you're saying to us, is that just through the power of powerful questions,
only,
just not by saying, go and do this, but by asking you, so the power of powerful questions, can you talk a little bit more on the powerful questions and the role that plays in coaching? Why do we ask questions? Why do we as coaches ask only questions, but we don't say, go and do this? What is this power in these powerful questions?
It's so funny you ask me, because as a coach now for the last 4 years nearly, I've never really, I just do it now. I've never, that's why we ask questions. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for reminding me, taking me back to the beginning of our journey.
Yeah.
The questions evoke transformation. Okay. Yeah. That when someone asks you, even the obvious, yes, the things we wouldn't ask ourselves, because our body is designed, our reptilian brain, our survival brain, our sympathetic nervous system, whichever way you want to go, it's designed to protect us. So even if that means protecting us from pain, yes, and that emotional pain is very sensitive for many, many of us. We don't like to deal with pain that's inherent. So we avoid asking the powerful questions like, is this person really good enough for me? Am I the best version of myself? We'd rather mask the truth, and it's a natural thing that happens in the body. So when we come along as coaches and we ask these powerful questions, we call them powerful because they evoked us like, oh wow, that you're asking me what I feel. I just didn't ever know to ask it, And it's not even powerful in that its magnitude. It's so simple, but it's the simplest things that make the biggest impact, right?
Absolutely. I love what you said, that it just evokes transmission. And I remember this when we were going through coach training and all of that, the power of powerful questions and the importance of asking those open-ended questions.
That's it. That's it.
Because that's the one, when you put it out to them and saying, what about this?
Yes, yeah.
And have you noticed, and I'm sure even now clients, they just sit there and they just look, because they're thinking. That's the power, because like you said, that opportunity to go back deep inside and say, wow, I've never thought about that. The open-ended questions, right?
Yes. And also another observation on that, Nima, because that's the standard, I think. 80% of people are like, oh wow. But then the thing for me that I find most fulfilling, knowing that this work is so powerful, is when there's resistance. Because we taught, back to our beginning in our training, that resistance means there's something there. And as coaches, we'd prod a little bit, as it's our job to dig a bit deeper for the sake of the coachee. And the resistance for me now, I'm starting to see as, wow, there's some precious jewels here. Yeah. Why are you closing with a smile on your face? Why are you closing and getting tensed up? And we'll talk about somatics later when the body starts telling you something. So yeah, it's really, there's different ways that people see it, and some embrace it, like, oh my God, that's such a great question. I knew that, I just didn't see it. And others are like, oh, why are you asking me that? Yeah. And then, so.
I love that. So when you said there's a close-up, you said a somatic, what do we see? So sometimes when the resistance comes, I see a lot of sometimes a deflection, or I see a lot of the deflection or changing it. And then I'm like, can we come back to this if you don't mind? And I like to gently challenge the client.
Yes.
What other ways have you noticed the resistance? Like, have you seen it in the body? Like, how do you see the resistance?
The body is, and this is my journey I'm taking now with the somatics. Even though our coaching, the fundamentals is amazing. A lot of things just attached to it. But you start, and it's a shame now because the situation the way it is, there's less face-to-face, less physical. And sometimes we don't even see the client, which is okay. We still can sense intuition and energy. But there's always a shift in the body and in the voice. I think you remember we did that exercise in the classroom back to back. We didn't be on a phone call.
I know.
And only now I'm like, that worked. In the class, I was like, oh, I don't get that. I was still young and naive.
What are they doing? I know.
And you see and that's the body defending itself. And it's so subconscious, because this is what we're taught as children to use as a survival. So whenever somebody's coming in and trying to go to that place where we don't want to go, even though we need to go, we want to defend it. And there's a closing up, there's a pulling back, there's the face shifts, and it's great to see, even though sometimes it's a bit, you realize that we hold a lot of stuff in, that if we just let it out, it would alleviate so much tension and stress from us.
You started off and you told me earlier through your story, your journey itself, the conditioning and the people pleasing. What are some of the dangers of conditioning? Because I know, like, we are conditioned as kids, we listen to the obvious people, our parents or, our teachers. But somehow you come to an older stage in your life and think, all that is not necessarily true. I've been conditioned to make everybody else happy except myself. All these conditioning. So, if somebody listening to us today probably doesn't know what conditioning means, so how would we explain conditioning? What is that?
Oh, Nima, that's a good question. I feel like this is an eternal question I have, and maybe you can give me some insight on this. Okay. Why do some people get to a stage in their lives and decide to feel the resistance and to heal the resistance in them? We have these conditioned tendencies, coping mechanisms, where we serve others, at our own expense. We must always put others first. Sometimes so deep within us, these things are so deeply set, we're not even aware.
Yeah.
But the resistance is building, constantly building. And we see it in weight gain, in unhappiness with ourselves, in disruption in our relationships. But we never stop to think, where is this coming from? But there's some people that never see it. They can go through their whole life developing sicknesses, developing really unhealthy ways of being with themselves and society and family, and it can take them to the end of their lives. And so I don't know how do you see it? What's needed for this shift in awareness to awaken the subconscious and make it conscious, so that you're like, wow, you know, there's Nima and Lindsay talking about conditioned tendencies, coping mechanisms. I realize that all I ever do is people please. I can't say no. I can't set boundaries. I can't put myself first. I can't let my superpower. I can't let go. I have to hold on to people's judgments or expectations. So what do you feel from your experience has to shift for someone to have that aha moment that this is me, this is what I'm dealing with, and I need to look into it?
Very good question. So it's like the years of conditioning, right?
Yes.
So if you take, so it's patterns and patterns and patterns of saying, let's say one conditioning, which I think is very common, is I should put everybody else's need ahead of myself. So I'm going to use that because that's very common. We can pick up 9 out of 10 will be following that pattern. So we've been conditioned, and somebody has told us, whether it's society, whether it's our parents, or whether it is our teachers, they've told us, you have to make sure that the other person is taken care of first. So we look after our children, we look after, you know, partners, everything, and then you come up and put yourself. So by the time your energy is exhausted, you have nothing for yourself. So a belief pattern has been set, and to shift that is so difficult. So it almost becomes a blind spot, you know, like you said.
Yes.
We are talking about it, but sometimes you don't even recognize that this is actually even there.
Yes.
And so what I've noticed, and what through my academics I've learned, is something very interesting called cognitive distortions. Basically, they're unhealthy thinking traps. So when we condition ourselves, we set these unhealthy thinking traps. So it could be somebody has a rule that they have within themselves.
Yes.
I will look after these people before I look after myself. That's a rule. I should do this. I must do this.
Yes.
So these are these belief patterns and thinking traps. As a coach, one of my roles, and I think a big part, is to identify the thinking trap that my client is presenting. So sometimes, very commonly now in this pandemic, I'm finding people who are catastrophizing.
Yeah.
Because they're sitting here today in the present moment and thinking, I'll lose my job. This is going to happen. Everything. They're just kind of magnifying things.
Absolutely.
So little thinking traps which we're conditioned with. So I think one of the ways is, like you said, bring awareness to the fact.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is a thinking trap. What do I do? What do I need to do to shift that? Because it's years of conditioning, like you said, years of conditioning. So there has to be a conscious shift in pattern. And that's what we do as coaches.
And
bring
you know,
awareness, raise the questions. Yeah.
And that, wow, it's like music to my ears. And something I'd maybe for people watching who maybe something gets triggered, some awareness gets instigated. When you say we as coaches ask the questions, just to help people understand that we are not here to excavate pain. We ask the question and we let the coachee decide how far they want to go, right?
That is brilliant. That's so brilliant, because you're right. There could be a lot coming up. Our job is to hold the space. So I love to give an example with when I meet my client for the first time, and I say, this is a container. This container, and it only we both exist.
Mm-hmm.
This is the safest space that can be. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to give you advice. I'm here to hold the space while you deal with everything. So I think that's so important. So it's not a place where we are challenging them and trying to bring out
Yeah.
although acknowledging fully well that no growth only comes out of discomfort.
Absolutely.
So I'm very honest with them. So if you're here to have a smooth ride, perhaps not. A lot of things will come up, but the space is going to be held for you. And I think as coaches, that's the most beautiful thing that we can do for a human being. Witness what they're going through and hold that space.
Yes. So it's and this is just to share your perspective on this, and this is from my perspective on coaching. It's and not to sugarcoat it because we love it and this is what we do.
Yeah.
But just seeing what we see in our clients and ourselves, because the transformation is also personal. Would you say it's a fun journey?
Okay. Fun. That's good. I like it how you just threw me off that. I was like, you don't ask me a serious question. Yeah. I mean, you're laughing, no? I think it can be fun. So I love this, right? I love bringing humor into, we all have our styles, no? And
yes.
Yeah, it can be fun. So I want to say to you, and it's not like you're being in a classroom and this is I mean, the thing is, it can be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It can be sober. It can be anything you want it to be. Because it's the client's agenda.
Absolutely.
It has, so anything goes in the container. It's absolutely fun if you want it to be. And I actually like to look at it that way because I love to bring humor. Especially as you develop a rapport with the client.
Yes,
I'm talking by saying, I know the client, and it's coming out. It's
exactly.
I can see it.
Yeah,
I think it's fun, and I think it's all about the relationship and the rapport. So I acknowledge session one, or it's harder because you're getting to know the client is getting to know you, you're trying to find your comfortable space.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the importance of chemistry and kind of forming that relationship. Once that's set, I think it can be such an incredible, powerful, fun journey. So yes, totally. I love it. Sometimes we're having a serious breaks out because you're like, I saw that. Don't try to hide that from me.
Yeah.
And lightens the moment, and definitely it can be anything you want it to be. That's the thing.
I just wanted, because I feel that there's still a stigma between any therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted, just because for me personally, that's what it's even looking back with compassion and love and not humor as in ridicule humor that we kind of associate with comedians and we make jokes at people's faults and shortcomings. Mm-hmm. Not that kind, but to look, when we can laugh at something and with in compassion and joy, there's creativity, there's growth, because it's a higher vibration. And sure, like you said, I agree, I see it. We can't stay there. It's not a fun game, because this is healing, and there's pain, and there's evolution, and there's growth and enlightenment. And for that to come out, we have to touch some scars that haven't been healed.
Yeah.
But when we do that we go down, we dive deep. But when we do it in a fun way, with being held, it's transformative, no?
It absolutely is. So I think, because I'd like to touch upon one thing, because you said, therapy and coaching. So I think sometimes people don't understand the difference between mm-hmm. therapy and coaching.
Yes.
Therapy is still a more serious, there is a difference, but there is a kind of, the therapist knows better in terms of what are the conditions you're dealing with, what is a trauma. They have those kind of tools to go deep into the scars and the pain. Coaching, on the other hand, is an equal partnership.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I mean, I know tools and I'm a professional, but I don't know any better than the client's life.
Yes, yes.
So we're both in a way in the driver's seat, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
I'm just, or no, actually the client is driving and I'm just sitting behind her, I mean, just next to them, helping them.
Yeah.
So I would just say that for anybody out there listening, it's important to know that the difference between therapy and coaching. And therapy is more to go and deal with the past,
Mm-hmm.
to go deal with the trauma, to go deal with, mental illness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's a completely different game out there. And then knowing that, you use coaching to move forward in your life. So you get answers, you do that, and then you say, okay, I get that, but now I want to go ahead. And that's when we as coaches come here to help the client personally or professionally move forward. I like that word, that phrase so much, move forward.
Yes, yes, yes. And so as just I had a few questions come up to bring some awareness of the power of coaching.
Mm-hmm.
There's different techniques, styles, methods, methodologies. For us, we have our styles, right? We create our niches based on our own passion and purpose. And would you say that even with my somatics, my CTI, just like you, the goal is always the same? Different cars, like you said, the coach and the coachee, we're driving together, right? We probably just tell the coachee, well, what if you turn left? You've never been left. You've always been going straight.
Let's try left, yeah.
Yeah, let's try left. Would you say we have the same purpose, you and I, but would you say the techniques and the methodologies help us guide our coachees to the same point, to that growth, to a lighter way of being, no?
Absolutely. So the end goal is the same in terms of when you work with a client, they always have their own end goal.
Mm-hmm.
It's never an end goal for us. It's their end goal.
Yes.
It can be anything, right? So we are with them through this journey, but this journey may have different methodologies, tools, and what we always say, the dancing in the moment.
Yes.
So there are different techniques, but I would think it's a blended approach. We use something when we think that's most relevant. Like you said, you're driving straight, we want to go right. Okay, what do we use for that right? And we might do a zigzag. Eventually, we'll reach where the client wants, which is the ultimate goal for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many methods, methodologies, dancing in the moment, so much of that beautifully comes through till we get there. Absolutely, but it's a blended approach. And you must agree with me, no client is the same, no coachee is the same.
No.
Because it's not like some homogeneous setting, right?
No, it's not like a style of car. And like, oh, I know it's just a different color. Yeah. But we have the manual, you can have the maintenance manual and you can follow a structured approach. Everybody's so different. And I think that's the beauty of it. Everybody is, and
because I feel that it's not one size fits all.
No, not at all. And what would you say as coaches? I'm thinking about this for myself. What's the biggest plus individually? I know mine, I think. What would yours be for, we have coaches as much as we coach. Mm-hmm. What would be the biggest plus about having a coach for you personally? We know your story from a few weeks ago on the video cast. What would you say it brings you the most? If that's more powerful, more direct.
Growth and transformation, just like you said. Because I may have the tools and I may be doing this, but I equally need that. So when I'm asked the powerful question and I'm asked where I see myself and my own journey, and when somebody is doing that to me, I find it powerful. And through every session, Lindsay, I come out feeling I have grown so much more.
Wow. Yeah.
It's growth, and that growth honestly is unstoppable. Like the metaphor that's coming to my head right now is, I love sunflowers, right? It's like stands tall and big and blooms, and look at it. I just feel that's the potential. There's no limit on growth, right?
No.
And I think that's the power of growing and of coaching. And for me personally, being seen by a coach and working through that just transforms me. Just simple. I know. I mean, just simple, just growth and transformation every single day, every single session.
I'd have to say I can't not agree with you from my own perspective on that. It becomes about you. And I start discovering that even in my sessions, you can't help when you have your own coach, because they point out your blind spots, as we mentioned earlier, but you can't help but resonate or reflect and start saying, oh, wow, that used to be a trigger for me, or there's something sensitive. So you start looking at yourself even deeper. Do you find that?
Absolutely. I think reflection is key. I mean, you hit the word. Actually, that's the right word that you've hit, reflection. I think that's brilliant, because I find myself reflecting about when I'm in a session and we've had a conversation and I'm just on a run. And then I'm reflecting. And then it's like, wow, how is it for you? Does reflection play?
I don't use it because it's not like I'm looking for it. But when you're listening to somebody, you're listening with your eyes, with your ears, with your body, the energy. You take in so much information. That's why it can be a bit exhausting when you do too many sessions a day. But you pick up things, and certain things about people's stories will resonate with you. Then you reflect, and then you can gauge, wow, I'm still a little bit sensitive on that point. So I need to take that to my coach or do some private work to elevate that, so I don't carry that judgment or that negativity with me.
Absolutely.
And it shows you, it's like a gauge, I think we all use it in society around us. Oh, am I in a good place? Am I healing? Am I in pain? And then you use it to inspire you, because like you said, once you're on this journey and once you open your eyes to growth, you can't unsee what you've seen, right?
Absolutely. And I want to kind of pick up on what you said, and especially now, I want to just be candid here and say it's not easy, because as a society, as a world, we are seeing a massive change, right? So a lot of the things the client brings resonates because perhaps you yourself are going through that.
Absolutely.
The coronavirus pandemic has created this. So we're talking job losses, we're talking health, we're talking about lockdowns. As a coach, I'm facing the same things. And then you're right. It's one of the most important things for me today to see another coach is because I'm carrying a lot of that as well.
Absolutely.
And even this morning, I was late to come to this call because I had to take a coaching supervision because I was dealing with certain clients that are going through traumatic situations. And I felt taking that to a supervisor and to get some advice on how to deal with that, it's transformative.
That's so beautiful. I think for whoever's watching, they can see that just because we do this work, firstly, it's not easy. And secondly, even we need a coach. So it's not as if we come out here saying we have the answers. It's hard, but it's beautiful once you start getting, when you pass once you're over the peak, sure, there's rocks as you descend into bliss and enlightenment and growth. But it's not a straightforward journey, even if it's the best journey.
Yeah. And if anybody's saying it's a straightforward journey, they're like really lying here, because it's not. We are human. Our clients are human. we're all going through so much, and there's a massive environment, the shift on a society level, community level, individual level. So I think it's so powerful, and I think you agree, because we're on both sides, no?
Yes.
We play both the roles.
Yes, yes.
And you can see the power of both.
Yes, yes. It's very insightful, and even talking like this, because as you coach and coach and coach, you sometimes don't see the forest for the trees, if I have to say it. So it's really great that we can share this openly, and hopefully it brings awareness to some people to try anything. I always say, try anything. Try 100 coaches. Well, most coaches give a free sample session, a free discovery session. Just try, You try, you learn. You don't try anything, you don't learn anything, right?
Lindsay, what would you say to somebody who, one of your viewers listening out here, and they're listening, but they're afraid? What would you say? They have this fear of going and talking to somebody. What would you say to them?
Oh, wow. I would say, ask yourself, firstly, why are you afraid? What's behind the fear? And usually when we look at the fear, rather than use it as a lens to view life from, when we look back at it, we disempower it to an extent. There's some disempowerment, like, actually, no, I'm afraid because I might get judged, or because I don't want this or that. But then once you ask that question, or you look at it, it changes the perspective. And we do perspectives in balance and principle. But just, what is the fear? And if you had to face the fear, what's the worst that could happen?
I love that. What's the worst that could happen? I love that, because what's the worst that can happen? You go and talk to somebody. What's the worst that can happen? Nothing, right?
You talk for 10 minutes, you don't like it. Oh, listen, this is not for me. But you tried.
Yes.
You tried. And that's all we can do, right? Is just try. Because you just never know what's behind that door.
Lindsay, what's the power of coaching in today's environment? Because globally, we have seen shifts like we've never seen before. And like we spoke the last time, mental health and it's front and center now. What would you say to somebody who is, going through, struggling? What would you say to them? Why would you say, go see a coach? What would you say to them?
Well, Nima, it's a great question, because a lot of things came up again. You're flooding with powerful questions. I just get all these thoughts come in. I don't know if I would say to someone, go see a coach.
Yeah, what would you say to them?
I would say, firstly, you're not alone. Something I'm discovering in my work and around me is that a lot of people, as soon as they feel pain, through the media, through the situation or the virus, through themselves, relationships, kids, work, as soon as that challenge in life comes along, they feel alone. They feel like no one understands me.
Oh, yes.
No one. Who's gonna understand? I gotta fight this on my own. I gotta be tough. That old school mentality of, don't show vulnerability.
Totally.
Just, you're not alone. Whatever conception you have in your body, through childhood, through life, through relationships, you're not alone. You are less alone than you will ever believe. And just with that, then you create, like, okay, so if I'm not alone, where do I go to not be alone? And then decide what's good for you.
Yeah. And there are many options there, no? Because like you said, it's not just like, say, go see a coach. There could be even a family member, perhaps you could reach out to, or there could be a friend.
Absolutely.
Or there could be, amazingly today, a professional help or anything. But
yes.
I think what I'm understanding, what I'm hearing from you is, take that first step, whatever that may be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to go back to the question and the power in it, it's noticing what's happening, this shift in society and the human race. It's, if we can just let everybody feel less alone, then we alleviate a lot of the pain already. And I just want people to know, I hope they got this far, whoever's here, we are not marketing coaching. This is not a market program. In case anyone doesn't know, I think we share this privately. Our purpose is shared differently, but it's the same. We want to bring healing. We want to help people and awareness. So we're not here to market coaching. Hey, sign up with us. Not at all.
Not at all.
We just want people to heal as a collective. Yeah. And that healing starts with listening to discussions like this, realizing you're not alone, becoming aware, reaching out.
Yeah, and like we said, just awareness will break the stigma.
Absolutely.
So if somebody's sitting there and feeling afraid of saying, oh my God, I'm such a coward if I go ask for help.
Yes, yes.
We're just raising that awareness by saying, no, talk to anybody. Just creating awareness. And that is really the sole intention of coming here and, you know, having this conversation.
Yes, yes. And just to also elaborate on that, to add a little bit on top, if most coaches, I'll say coaches, I'm going to give everybody the same benefit of the doubt. They all want to heal to some extent, to help, to support. Absolutely. So coaches, family, friends, just reach out for a second and see what comes back. Mm-hmm. If the water's too hot, try somewhere else. If the water's too cold, try somewhere else. But whatever you do, without giving advice, as we shouldn't, whatever you do, don't keep it in. How does that feel? Do you agree with that?
Yes, 100%, 100%. Because, you know, not everybody would be comfortable saying, oh, let me go speak to a stranger.
Absolutely, yeah.
Equally, speaking to that stranger is probably the better thing than a family member. So I would just say, see what works for you. Because we are all made differently. For me personally, speaking with a coach, a non-judgmental, you know, space works better than speaking to a family member who may, you know, inadvertently give you advice and all these things. So look for the right person for you. And I'd like to add this as well. If you are looking to work with a coach, make sure, like you said, have those chemistry sessions. Mm-hmm. Find the rapport, because I say a dance that you need to do together. Mm-hmm. Right? You need to feel it.
Absolutely.
Not just in the head, but also in the heart. You need to feel that, wow, as human beings, I can work with this person and I can change my life. And I think what the coach or the client doesn't understand is that they're changing our lives too, no?
Absolutely. Yes.
Like, every client I have brings me closer and closer and closer to living my purpose.
I love that, Nima. You made me like, it's so great. I feel like I love every single one of my clients from the very beginning. Some stayed for few sessions, 3, 4, some stayed for a couple of years. And you just, whatever the duration was, you felt like, thank you.
I know.
You know? Thank you for helping me fulfill my purpose,
Yes.
I'm getting a bit selfish here, sorry. It's really great though.
I really understand, because I'm not doing anybody a favor. Like, so it's not like I'm a coach, I'm doing you a favor. No, I think clients and coaches need to understand how much they are doing for us.
Yeah.
Every client, every session, whether it went brilliantly or didn't go brilliantly, because my goodness, the number of clunky sessions I would have had is like a list.
Yeah.
But the growth, the transformation, the learning for myself. So I think it's a journey where they both help each other.
100%. And that's back to your chemistry point. If the relationship is, if you feel good, you grow better, right?
Yeah.
Not every plant grows in every type of soil. You have to know the right soil for the right blossoming, to use a metaphor.
I agree. And perhaps maybe in some of our talks going forward, we could come and help the listeners understand kind of the different types of coaching available. And because right now, today, we've spoken about coaching in general and what it does. But perhaps that could be something that we could incorporate, the different types, and then somebody listening say, oh, I think that may be better suited for me. Because like we said, one size doesn't fit all.
No, definitely not.
What do you think about that?
Yes, and I feel we can also come with a little bit of terminology breaking down. We can break down some, because we have some, and I learned this in one of my coaching courses after CTI, that as much as we are coaches, we're also teachers. Because growing up, there was terminology, maths, science, things we didn't know. So we had to have someone teach us, even if we understood how our body works. If we don't have the terminology to understand what it is that's driving us, we didn't fully resonate with what was going on. So maybe we can break down some terminology and people can like, oh, wow, that's me. And I understand that better now.
I love that. I love that, because you're right. We taught everything. We taught science, math, everything. We're just not taught how to live life. We are not taught.
No. How to understand ourselves.
How to understand ourselves. And that's crazy, no? Because if I look at it, that's the first thing that should come up, right?
Ideally.
In the perfect world.
Yes, we can create it. Don't worry, it's coming.
I would love to break down terminology. I would love to unpick a little bit more on types of
coaching styles. Yes.
Some of the tools probably we could go into.
Yes.
I love the CTI, the wheel of life that we did.
Yes.
So simple.
Yes.
It's mind-blowing.
And so effective. Yeah.
Now I use it with a lot of my clients just for them to see where they are. So perhaps we could do some of those, tools as well, a few of them.
Let's do that. That's what we'll do. So we agreed already to come back next week, and we'll go a bit deeper into coaching methodologies and language and breaking down terminology. Yeah. And we'll just give people some insight onto the power behind growing. Let's say growing, because it doesn't matter how you grow, as long as you're growing. Yeah.
Anything, right?
As long as you're growing. So
it's not linear.
No, unfortunately not. I looked for that path in the beginning. It's like, how do I get to what's the shortest route and the quickest route? And there isn't one.
And this is great that you say that, because don't you think one needs to be patient? Because growth doesn't happen in one session, no?
No.
Not at all. What would you say to somebody like us who said, oh, growth is, we realize now it's not linear. But what would you say to somebody who wants to get there very quickly?
I would, from my experience and my philosophy on myself and I say mine because it's very subjective, but my life, the journey is beautiful. I don't want to take a shortcut. I wouldn't take a shortcut on anything anymore. There were painful times, I must say. It hasn't been easy. There were tears, there was pain, there was relationship conflict. Growth is not an easy thing. But when you look back and you see what it does for you, I wouldn't take a shortcut anymore.
I so agree with you.
I wouldn't take a shortcut. Sounds crazy.
I want to put this out there because, sometimes we live in this world of instant gratification. We do it now, I want the result now. But it's not that.
This is not that.
Later when you realize, like you said, that whole journey is so beautiful, and how you grow, you learn, and you build resilience.
Absolutely.
So I think I like to kind of say that it's not a one session, No.
And to embrace it, and I know it sounds a bit contradictory to say growth is painful, but embrace it. But yes, right?
It's absolutely that.
But because if you resist it, all you do is create more conflict. Resistance there's no adherence.
And when you resist, it kind of keeps showing up. It's not like it goes away.
No.
In so many ways.
So many ways. So embrace it. And then back to the question, I wouldn't. And somebody who wanted to take a shortcut, I would just say try it. If you feel that you can do something quicker and faster, especially stuff like this, we're changing beliefs that are 20, if you're lucky, you start this journey, sometimes 30, normally 35, 40. You're changing belief systems. It's not an overnight journey, but try it. I mean, I'd love someone to give me a shortcut for future clients. And my journey is already, I'm embracing it. So
tell us.
We can go faster, but I don't know if I would, but
yeah, same here.
But you have to try. Some things resonate and some people are afraid. And I respect and love that too, because it's I understand that some trauma is really deep. So when you're compassionate, you understand why people rather bypass, because this here can be really difficult.
I
Can be really
I
difficult.
agree, and I acknowledge that. There is a lot of pain.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
But it's also so rewarding.
At the same time.
At the same time. To work through that rather than to bypass it.
Mm-hmm. So, what should we do? Shall we plan? We've planned our next one. We'll be back next week for a deep dive into coaching and its methodologies and its terminology. Coaching, yeah, you'll give insight onto yours and I'll give insight onto mine. And we'll just share so people can we just want understanding and enlightenment and growth, right? Perfect. Awareness, yeah.
Perfect. Awareness. Awareness is key. That's the intention. Awareness is key.
Awareness is key.
Oh, I love this conversation.
Yeah, so great. So we'll be back next week for anybody who will be here. I'm sure there will be some people. And good luck. You keep watching us. You're going to fall in love with coaching. Thank you so much, Nima.
Thank you for having me, Lindsay. This was wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.